so-called bridge connecting the Dogecoin and the Ethereum blockchains together. And basically, to build a bridge between two blockchains, you need to make each of them be aware to be able to check the security of the other blockchain by verifying its proof of work. And so TrueBit is a really good fit for doing this because you can't build this bridge without using TrueBit. And so we started working on this project, and in the meantime, Jason, who's the founder of TrueBit, went to an art exhibit in Alabama where he saw Jessica putting on a show. And Jessica's got like really interesting art that you guys will see more of. So we're like, okay, what if we create a structure, like a physical representation of this Doge Ethereum bridge, and use it as a vessel to experiment with decentralized art and open source art? And how would that look like? And then as this happens, we take that as a prototype for future decentralized open source art projects. So today, like, our goal is kind of twofold, is to first talk about this first installation that Jessica's leading, and that's super cool, and you can see kind of visual representations of it on the screen. But beyond that, it's how kind of decentralized art will look like, whether we can create a foundation and fundraise around it. So we'll actually be getting together in February to fundraise, to fund future art projects, how those funds will be governed, how these projects will coordinate with each other, which we can use their expertise on. And those are our goals for today. And another, so to also riff off of that, this is one art project, and Griff also has an idea around building an art car for Burning Man this year, which I don't know if you guys have been out there, and it's like fucking cool.
Oh, yeah.
So he'll also get up for like a super short presentation around that. So that'll be what we're doing today. So with that, I'll hand it off to Jessica.
So I have two projects that actually I want that are kind of my heart and soul right now. One is a clear connection to this, which is Burning Man. I am the central point of failure for Decentral. And we actually have most of the leadership council right here to this meeting because our team is mostly made up of Doge enthusiasts and Ethereum hackers, right? So this is a clear win right here. Bringing the Doge, this project to the burn is, that's going to happen. If it doesn't happen this year, I'll cry, but I'll make it happen next year, right? And just because scheduling conflicts, who knows, right? The other piece, though, is that we could always use an art card. So one of the cool magical things about this is that TrueBit plans on sponsoring many art projects along this lines. So if there's anyone out there who wants to help make an art card to bring people to this permanent installation, because I was hoping to come here and be like, yeah, let's put wheels on this baby. But it's a little big, so it might be impractical. But that doesn't mean we can't teleport people there on another kind of bridge, right? So school buses are cheap, and we can make some magic happen. So if anyone has any ideas about that, I have lots. You want to talk to me. Number two, I run this project called Give It. But this one I'm less of a central point of failure. This one is actually a decentralized altruistic community, and we're trying to build software so that people can connect to each other and fund altruistic projects. And Art DAO would be a clear fit for this. We should be live before the end of the year on mainnet, but mostly for internal structuring. But the goal is to build these networks of decentralized communities that so that they can have their own governance structure, and we provide a clean layer of so that people can connect like their money to and see the transparency, so that they could fund. Like, let's say that you had Art DAO on Give It, people could decide which project they want to fund, or they could actually delegate authority over their donation to somebody, and that person would then find the art project to connect them to. And then when their money goes there, they get to see exactly what they contributed to, like a clear structure for milestones and like where you can track the funds. So that someone would be like, yeah, I built this piece of sheet metal for this project, right? Like this one was mine. Or I helped pay for this guy's salary, right? So it's a very cool, unique opportunity for our DAO to exist. But I'm going to keep it short. So thank you guys.
Good to go.
Hello, sir.
Hello?
Just in case this ends up being a video that floats around independently, my name is Gary. I'm a long-term proponent of Dogecoin. Had this shirt since 2014. Also the co-founder of Tom and Gary's Decentralized Dance Party. And I love decentralization, and we have an elaborate plan to issue peace bonds on the Dogecoin blockchain to crowdfund a world tour that will unite everyone in celebration with a decentralized dance party that spans the globe. And this fellow right here, I believe, is building the architecture that will allow for it, which we've been waiting for several years.
Hello, so I'm Sina from TrueBit. I'm working on building the Dogecoin Ethereum bridge with a good group of people, so yeah, glad to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, I flew all the way down because I was excited about this. Found out a couple days ago from Griff. So I'm not totally clear on exactly how the bridge, what the functionality will be once it's done. If you want to let people know, I guess we can assume the audience knows how crypto is and works and what Dogecoin and Ethereum are. So how exactly will it work?
Yeah, okay, so do you want to hold it or?
It's all right.
So a bridge is, the idea is that there's these two blockchains, there's Dogecoin and there's Ethereum. And you want to, the high level idea is that you lock some of, you're a Dogecoin owner, you send a transaction locking some of your Dogecoin, and then on the Ethereum side, you receive an equivalent number of Doge ERC20 tokens back. So you basically get to use these Doge tokens in the Ethereum ecosystem, you can send them to someone else, and then at any point in the future, that holder can then send these tokens back, receive the original Dogecoins, and the bridge is functional. So how would you build something like this? So to get into the details a bit more, basically on the Dogecoin side, the architecture that we've landed on, so this idea isn't new. It kind of goes back to Blockstream's sidechains paper, and it's also referred to as a two-way peg. So the way this one will work is on the Dogecoin side, you send a transaction locking your Dogecoins, encumbering them in some way. The simplest way is to basically send them to a multi-sig address controlled by an independent group of people who are legal-wise, geographically distributed and cannot collude with each other. And you can kind of build on this and make it more robust over time. But basically you send the transaction locking your Dogecoins. Then there's this Ethereum smart contract that you want to prove that this transaction actually happened and these Dogecoins are locked. So you need to take their transaction with an SPV proof linking it to a Merkle root of a transaction and provide that to this Ethereum smart contract. Let's call it the Doge relay. Simple. So this smart contract just checks that the Merkle proof checks out, but it also needs to know that this transaction Merkle root belongs to a legitimate block header, to a legitimate Doge block header, and that this block header is actually on the legitimate canonical Doge blockchain. So this Doge relay contract needs to keep track of the Doge blockchain. How does it do that? It will allow people, clients, to submit Doge block headers to it, and to check the validity, it needs to check its proof of work function. So whether the scrypt hash is actually calculated correctly from the plaintext fields. And it would be easy if you could just write a Solidity function to do this, except that scrypt doesn't fit within the EVM's gas considerations. So this makes it a perfect use case for TrueBit. So we actually use TrueBit. This Doge relay contract passes off the scrypt checking to a simplified TrueBit protocol, where basically challengers can run scrypt locally on their computer, and if they disagree with the provided hash, they're like, yeah, this plaintext doesn't actually lead to this hash, they can submit a challenge, and then the TrueBit protocol plays the verification between the person who originally supplied the block header and these challengers. And if the block header is proven incorrect, that block is not counted and the Doge relay doesn't keep track of it. If it is proven that it is correct, then the Doge relay adds it to its list of known block headers. So at this point, this smart contract has a list of like Doge block headers. Someone provides one of these locked transactions with the SPV proof, and it's like, okay, this transaction is legit, it actually happens, and it knows that this is locked. So then it mints an equal number of Doge ERC20 tokens for the person who originally sent the Doge transaction.
Okay.
So that's how it works, getting into the Ethereum
In a
side.
nutshell.
In a nutshell.
And I know right now there's like huge problems with network congestion on Ethereum, the crypto kitties and everything else. And
Yeah.
like the price even of the transactions. With the tokens, like is that something that'll be an issue for creating the tokens and trading them around?
Yeah, so the idea is that when you get your Doge ERC20 tokens, that kind of gives you access to the Ethereum ecosystem. You can, use all the decentralized exchanges, use any services that are available on Ethereum, all the smart contracts. But the problem remains that you are making Ethereum transactions. So yeah, your Doge ERC20 transactions need to fit within the Ethereum blocks. So we need to figure out parallel ways to scale Ethereum in addition to this.
So what about if you used Ethereum Classic or my buddy, do you know, for some reason I can't think of his name right now, one of my best friends.
Such a good friend.
Alex Sturkey, he created a thing called UBIQ.
Mm-hmm.
UBIQ, so it's similar to Ethereum but different blockchain. It's like 200 times cheaper and no congestion right now.
Cool.
Would that be a possibility? Like could this be just kind of ported over to that?
Yeah, the general, as long as you have a blockchain using the EVM as its state machine, you can basically just plug and play the
Ethereum virtual machine.
The Ethereum virtual machine. You can use the same code on the Ethereum side. And the cool thing is that if we get this design working between Dogecoin and Ethereum, Dogecoin is a UTXO blockchain, similar to Litecoin and Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So it's a unspent transaction outputs as opposed to an account-based system like Ethereum. So basically, once you get this working, you could use the same construction to build bridges between Ethereum and Litecoin, Ethereum and Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Or vice versa with Bitcoin and any other blockchain that uses the EVM.
So is there a way you could control, like one of the great things about Dogecoin was that it was super cheap for transactions. Like, is there a way you could use the Ethereum blockchain to like manipulate smart contracts or transactions or like issuing the peace bonds tokens in the Dogecoin blockchain world? Is that a thing that could be?
Yeah, you could,
all
all kinds of interesting interactions can happen when you move your Dogecoins over to Ethereum. Like one thing we need to be careful about is the security of this system. So kind of a built-in security feature inside of this bridge is that the Dogecoin blockchain is kind of firewalled from the Ethereum side, so that if anything goes wrong in these smart contracts, it's not like you can actually mint Dogecoins. The worst that can happen is these locked Doge UTXOs could be claimed by the wrong person. Even if the system was completely broken, that's the worst that could happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously we're thinking through doing a detailed security analysis of it, and once you get these Dogecoins over, then you can use smart contracts to build all kinds of like interesting constructs using them.
Cool. Any idea on timelines for the creation of this?
Yeah, so TrueBit is working on the S-script verification, so verifying Dogecoin's proof of work function. We actually have a decent prototype live on GitHub right now. And then after we get that working, we need to get the Doge relay contract working, the ERC20 token, and sending the tokens back, which there's a few different constructions that we could use for that. The simplest one being a multi-sig, we're looking into kind of an incentivized multi-sig right now. But yeah, I mean, over the next few weeks and months, this will take more shape. But I'm hopeful that we're gonna make some real progress.
I believe.
I believe.
What was I gonna ask? Something. Yeah. Are you looking for people to contribute or help? Oh yeah. And Dogecoin needs a hard fork for this to work, I heard, right?
So with like the two main constructions we're looking at, it wouldn't need a hard fork. That's
sweet.
actually one of our biggest considerations because hard forks are obviously hard. And Dogecoin is merge mined with Litecoin, and there's a whole ecosystem around that, so best to avoid that if possible.
Yeah. Have you talked to Jackson at all? Creator? I know he lives here. So-
Yeah, I haven't personally, but I think people on the team have.
Cool. Yeah, I was trying to get him out tonight. He said he got a concussion recently, so
Yeah.
hopefully that heals up.
Oh man. Yeah, that's
Not
rough.
good. Not ideal. So if we were to create these, do you know the idea for the peace bonds?
No, I
guess
don't.
I went over it briefly. So we want to issue, like back in the day, governments used to issue war bonds to raise money for a war. And with the DDP, decentralized dance parties, were like waging peace, is how I describe it, because it's like this collective mob of joy that can be rallied to this cause, and we just go out in the street. It's like this just swarm of positivity and happiness, which totally aligns with the Dogecoin. So instead of issuing more bonds to fight a war, we want to issue peace bonds to wage peace around the world. And the idea too is that once we have this simultaneous global dance party, I believe we'll win the Nobel Peace Prize for partying. And
Nice.
then during our acceptance speech, we'll make the proposition that every country in the world, well, the peace bonds is the scheme to raise the money to do the whole thing. But then, yeah, when we're giving our acceptance speech, we'll propose that every country in the world should spend half their defense budget on partying the next year. So that'll be like $1 trillion
I like
dedicated to party
There'll be some badass
architecture.
parties.
And then we'll win the Nobel Prize twice. Like the original idea was to raise $1 million, and it's backed by a promise that we'll win the Nobel Prize. And we win it twice, that's over $2 million, so everyone gets double their money. So that's the idea.
I think I'm on board.
Yeah?
Yeah, we can definitely use the bridge somewhere in that vision.
Yeah? That's great.
We'll party on the bridge.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. But yeah, it's been waiting many years for this to happen, so it's exciting. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thanks for the interview.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Should we have a hug to end it?
Let's do it.
There's the proof of hug. Any final thoughts on decentralizing the world? Can it be done?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to my first decentralized dance party. I can't believe I haven't been to one of these before.
I can't believe it either.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Bridget with a goodbye.
Bridget with a goodbye.
See you in
About
the
to
future.
go camp over the bridge. Alright, see you guys.
Yeah.
Peace.
Hello.
Hi,
What is your name and title?
my name is Holly, and I have worked very closely with the TrueBit team as well as all these really interesting people here that have come together around this thought of a decentralized art community.
And do you have a lovely Doge at home?
I do. His name is Buster, and he is a corgi. Full name Buster McBusterson, and yeah,
That's how you pronounce it?
Buster McBusterson. Yep.
BMB?
Yeah. He also goes by the Mona Bee because we've like combined him with the Mona Lisa, but we can go more into that later.
How about we go into it right now?
You really want to go in there? Okay. So we've combined him with the Mona Lisa as well.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah, this is him.
I don't know how it works.
Oh yeah, that's that. That's
Good looking Doge.
good looking Doge.
Yeah.
Yep, he's there. Alright, and yeah, he is my muse, I would say. He's
How
my
so?
muse. He has a spirit that he's like always down to do anything, and even though he's really exhausted and tired and he thinks it cannot be done, he will still do it. and that is inspiring, so yeah.
Very respectable.
Yes, this Doge.
I actually do like, is it corgi or corgi? Corgi, right?
Corgi, yeah.
And yeah, I was saying, you asked me if I was a dog fan, as a lot of people do, and I said I've never been a huge fan of dogs in the physical realm. And I realized last week, I think why, is that I have a hard time, I don't know if respecting is the word, respecting domesticated animals and humans. So I'm very admiring of the wolf that's out in the wilderness being a wolf, but when a dog is just, I don't know, domesticated, and I should choose my words carefully so I don't sound like a jerk, but
This, here's a
just
thought.
when it's not a wild spirit living from its, I don't know, it's like they've been kind of, I mean, some of them, I guess, are just happy to please and be submissive and just take orders, and it's like they need a human to, they're looking for a master, and I like people and animals that have no master and they're totally wild, and that's why I generally respect cats more, because they just basically seem to have, they could take you or leave you. They just have contempt for a lot of things, and they'll do what they want. And I like when people are like that too, like they're not domesticated in their body or mind or spirit, and they're living from the essence of themselves. And those are the personalities I've always been attracted to and loved. And I'm sure there's many dogs that can be that way. I just want to be, in terms of my own freedom too, I don't want to be responsible for someone or something else if I can help it.
You know, what about if it wasn't so much about domestication, right? So, yes, in order for me and Buster to connect and for me to learn something from him, it would have had to be because like we were able to be in the same room with each other and talk and communicate and learn from each other. So maybe it's about like what is underlying in that, and like how you can still communicate with people that are not necessarily, I don't know, like the non-domesticated version of the dog is a wolf, right? And they're savage and wild, and yeah, they might have like all these like thoughts and feelings and whatnot. Like, yeah. but like a dog like takes all of those feelings and thoughts and whatnot and does domesticate it so that you can kind of interpret it and like learn from that. And I will say, for the record, Buster has taught me so many life lessons that I will use in my life and have used in my entire life. And I think that in itself is something to think about.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And if he's been a muse who has improved your life and taught you lessons, then that's great.
I'm bringing it back to the
for me,
Dogecoin, doggy coin, whatever you want to
Dogecoin.
call it. Whatever the fuck you want to call it. Sorry for my language, but yeah. I feel like it's about the spirit of it.
Yeah. For me, yeah, it's a reverence, a deep reverence for the irreverent. And I was saying earlier how with the DDP, like we want it to be waging peace, and I love just the visual concept of like in communist dictatorships or whatever, they'd have like a military parade with all these like portraits of Stalin or Mao or whoever their leader was, and like they were worshiping this guy. But if we could turn that on its head and be waging peace, and our figurehead was this Doge, which is just this embodiment of irreverence and joy and happiness. And when we were at Burning Man, my buddy Laraz he came up to me after a night of introspection, and he's like, I think the Doge is like the embodiment of the Buddha. So it's like a meme of Buddha that is
Dude, I'm
a
down.
vision of perfection. And yeah, I think it's, if I was to choose a spiritual figurehead for this entire thing, it'd be the Doge. And now that can be the currency of the entire world. Like Bitcoin's all right, but if we could have Bitcoin with the head of the Doge on it, and that was currency for the whole world, and also the vehicle for issuing these peace bonds to unite the whole world in celebration, like that's the ultimate, I don't know. That's what I want to see happen. What about you?
So does the Dogecoin need to be on Ethereum in order to make this happen?
Yeah, well, I still didn't even understand exactly how it all worked technically, and I still don't exactly, but I had a chat with, what's his name again? Cena about it, and he says there will be a way to make it work,
There is,
because, yeah, we'll just figure it out.
yeah.
And that's what I knew when I came down here. I was like, I don't know how it'll work, but we'll just make it work.
You know, me neither. Me neither, but
And it'll be fun to figure it out and just thrash around and make mistakes and just keep laughing along the way. That's the most important thing.
yeah.
Have a good time and go in there with the right spirit and intention. That's what I think. Could be wrong. Spirit and intention important?
I
Do
think
the means justify the end?
I think that's the most important, actually. The spirit that you create that will thus funnel into the intention. Yeah. I think this project will actually bring a lot of different people that are involved in for different reasons, and I think this is actually like the perfect example of how all of the blockchain community can interact with each other and create something really big and special and different and really make it happen.
Yeah, like I think with this whole decentralization revolution, should not lose sight of the fact that it should be as fun and irreverent and joyful as possible. So that's the world we're trying to make. Like, it's gonna make things more efficient or whatever, but who cares?
Yeah,
If it's not
it is
fun
efficiency.
and awesome and hilarious, like that's the objective to be aiming for, I think.
Yeah.
That's the world I want to build. And yeah, even like Vitalik this is like, I film everything, but I wish I had it on video, like back in 2014, before Ethereum even existed. My buddy Cam, who started Decentral in Vancouver, he's like, Vitalik's here, we're at this cafe, like eating, you should come down and talk to him. And then I gave him this sticker with the Dogecoin QR code on it, and he laughed. I've never seen a person look so happy. He laughed this awesome laugh, and I was like, oh, I wish I was filming. But yeah, like Vitalik, like he is the most renowned and respected guy in crypto, and he's always wearing Doge t-shirts. Like, as supremely, like, as supreme of an intellect as he is, he also gets like, we need this humor and irreverence.
Huh?
That's what I love so much about this community. At least a lot of people in it are just like, this needs to be funny too. Like, we need to bridge Dogecoin and Ethereum, and they had a bounty of like
I know.
hundreds of thousands.
And the fact
of
that
us,
it
like,
could make this art structure is like an
yeah,
added
now it's
value.
gonna be a piece of art that's roaming around. And
It's kind of hilarious, actually.
yeah, this is the world we need to build. It's not like, how can we more efficiently like move garbage and sewage around? It's like, how can we make it the best party that's the most hilarious thing
Yeah.
we've ever seen? And you know, one more thing that Cam figured out when we did Camp Dogecoin at Burning Man back in the day, 2014. And he wrote some articles on it for Bitcoin magazine. He realized that Doge spelled backward is e-god. So if we have a spiritual figurehead to this whole movement,
Oh man.
there's only one possibility. It looks like, I guess if I can get a mirror going.
It looks like we know who it is.
Oh, my phone's facing the wrong way. But on the back of this phone, there's an image of the Doge, and there's one right there. But yeah. So you're on board for this revolution?
Yeah, I made it. I am fully involved.
Any concerns or questions?
My next question really is, how do we make it happen, and how do we really make it happen? And that's what I'm focused on. So, yeah.
Well, that's one thing we've been talking and thinking about a lot lately is with the DDP, like it's very hard to put it all together and store the boom boxes and get volunteers and stuff.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I've been trying to set up this global headquarters for decentralization in Vancouver, and we were looking into ways to buy a building, and we need someone super rich with millions of dollars. And then my buddy Kyle said, why don't you do like fractional ownership of real estate and crypto?
Yeah.
So that way like 100 people could pool their money and buy this place. Because there's all these people that have all this money they made in crypto,
Yeah.
but they want to put it in some like solid asset or diversify. So then I was thinking like we could do that. Like we could buy property everywhere, all over the world, like every city, every town, especially like developing countries where it's super cheap. Like you can probably buy a building for $1,000, and
Yeah.
you could hire someone to man it for $100 a month or something. And they could teach like everything to do with the Bitcoin decentralization ecosystem. Like, teach crypto, and it could be like a storage for all the boom boxes and a center for decentralized dance party and like, every aspect of decentralization. So I'm pretty excited about that idea. I think that's how we can immediately scale it. And there's these companies that are doing fractional ownership of everything, tokenizing everything, and then it'd be unstoppable. We already are.
I mean, yeah, even two worlds colliding right here in this space, I feel like is the start of something really big,
How big?
real big, like the Doge Ethereum art car at Burning Man.
That big?
Big,
That's
yeah,
big.
big. For starters, yeah.
We like to say the future will not be centralized.
It will not.
And this is an idea whose time has come. And there's
Yeah.
nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come.
And you've come to a space where we have organized it so that that's what we're working on, that's what we're focusing on, and actually we are going to be having a full day thing. Imagine what happened here in 3 hours and how we can make that expand even more so in 8 hours in a full-blown hackathon, make-a-thon.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Defies imagination.
Yeah. And so we have all these builders and people who are gonna make it happen.
Thanks for putting it all together, and I'm glad you had someone here to film it. Like, it always pisses me off when
Yeah.
this stuff's happening and it's not being videotaped so it can be shared with the world. You can have a global audience, and who knows who's going to watch it and get turned on to those ideas, not just turned on.
Committed. Turned on and then committed. That's usually the form. You're turned on and then you're committed, and then you're like, what else can I learn? What else do I need to know? How do I get those things? And I think you are a force to be reckoned with in that space.
Who, me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you. We all could be.
Guess so.
If we defy our domestication of the body and mind and spirit,
Yeah.
we can decentralize the world. One Doge at a time.
One Doge at a time.
How would you feel about a high five?
Let's do it.
It's powerful. Okay.
Okay.
Glad to be your friend.
You too.